Here's the most exciting part about the Pixel 4a. $349! $349. I love it. The magical mixture is just something that's tantalizing to me, and it gets me going, to be quite honest with you. It finally happened. Google came through. The Pixel 4a has landed in the Unbox Therapy studio. What a time. I'm very excited. You know, I've been a Pixel guy. I've used the Pixel phone dating back to the original one. I got a bunch of them lined up over there. Actually, those are the most recent ones. Pixel 4. Kirk's using his phone right now. All right, so that tells you something. Been a popular choice in the studio. You know, I said to you many times that I like the Pixel camera aesthetic. A lot of it has to do just with the camera application, the software side. But whatever it is, the magical mixture is just something that's tantalizing to me, and it gets me going, to be quite honest with you. The software, the stock Android experience, the experience that Google intended for Android in 2020, that's baked into here as well. And here's the most exciting part about the Pixel 4a. $349! $349. I love it. More people getting to experience this experience, more people getting their hands on the goods, and more options and more exciting products at different price points. It doesn't have to be $1,000 to have a good time, and I like that. This is going to go head-to-head with devices like the iPhone SE, the new one. In fact, I've been reading and looking at a number of comparisons of those two devices, aiming at the same segment within the marketplace, but taking different approaches. Anyway, on the table here, I have the Pixel 4a in the just black color. This is a 5.8-inch device, 128 GB of storage. This is in the just black color. Speaking of just black, you know, I like to wear just black. Black. I like plain clothes. I like basic clothes, but I like premium basic clothes. So I want to give a quick shout out to my sponsor, Built Basics. They make all the shirts that you see me wearing here on this channel. I've got a promo code so you can step up your basic clothing game as well. You can stick a bunch of these in your drawer and you don't even have to think about what you're gonna wear that day. I just have a tremendous number. I reach, it's high quality fabrics, high quality materials, durable, and it doesn't look like trash after you wash it a bunch of times. So go check that out. Just Black. The name made me think of that. The name made me remember. We have that, we have the Pixel Buds, which this one, it also took a while to get here, so you may have seen some videos about it, but you know I want to give my feedback on that. This is competitive with the Apple AirPods and the various Galaxy products. Well, they got a new one. They got the Buds Live, which I think Samsung's going to get to the studio, so that's going to be nice to compare. We also have the Pixel 4a. I guess that's the official case. They've been doing this fabric thing for a while. You know my style. It's more on the later case side with the nice texture here, the impossibly thin case, so you know I had to do it for the Pixel 4a as well. Had to bring it into the later case family, so you can buy this right now on pre-order. I'll link that in the description also. So lots of good stuff to look at here. We're going to kick it off with the main unit, obviously. This is the Pixel 4a unboxing experience. Team Pixel on the back. You got the two little pull tabs. I'll give you some pull tab therapy. I hope you heard it. High quality sound effects. Lovely. All right, we lift up. And boom. There it is. Now, it's important to note, this is a budget-minded, a value-conscious device. So you're going to have a plastic back, a plastic chassis. Some people don't mind. They say, hey, what if I drop my phone on the back? Wait. Yes. So some people, you know, they say, look, I don't mind if I have a plastic back. When I drop it, I don't have to worry about shattering the back. But there is such a wide variety of plastic, the way that plastic is implemented in smartphones. Yesterday, was it? I was talking about the Note 20, how the plastic back, it felt a little bit cheap. This one, on the plastic meter, I hear a little click to it, but it's a more solid thud. So the gap between the plastic and the components on the inside appears to be less than the Note 20, so you could live with it. Also, the color of it, it can fool you at a certain, you know, if you're using this thing on a daily basis, you're probably gonna forget that it's plastic. That said, you slap this on, check you out now. Who's kidding who? You see what I'm saying? Now, you actually line up the fingerprint better because you feel exactly where it is. You get the beautiful texture. So that's the way I'm gonna go. But that said, it's not the end of the world, a plastic phone at $349. The Note 20 took a lot of heat because it isn't at $349. It's at $1,000 and so that's why people's expectations were different. Another thing to notice here, of course, is that rear fingerprint scanner. It's kind of interesting the way that it's outlined here. It's part of the back of the unit, so there's no real large ring around it. Instead, it's just this little depressed section. Here is your camera module, supposedly the same performance as the Pixel 4, which is fine with me if that's actually what it turns out to do, because like I said, the cost savings, Pixel 4 and 4 XL, those were more expensive devices. I used the 4 XL as my personal device for a very long time. We still have the stylized power switch, which they give one special color to. I believe this is, yeah, it was orange or like a coral on the XL model. The standard version last time around, it has the exact same, or no, that's white. So anyways, they're always playing around trying to give a little bit of style, especially to a basic phone, a just black phone. You have the volume rocker below there. Oh, another thing I should mention, this has a headphone jack on it, which is, it's kind of a must on a budget device because the expectation there, you spend $349 on the phone, maybe you got a wired headset kicking around, and it's a little harder to go splurge on a Pixel Buds or some AirPods or something like that when you've got the $349 budget. I'm not saying you can't do it, but it's a nice little touch and consideration for the fact that you picked a budget phone and you may still need to be using a wired headphone. And you know, the way I think of this is it's just a bonus either way. If you can fit it in there, sure, why not? SIM card tray is in an unusual location over here. It's towards the bottom of the device. And then on the bottom here, on the very bottom, it looks like we have our speaker grill and also our Type-C connector for the fast charge. It's not the fastest charge in the world. I believe it's 18 watt. Kirk will correct me in the edit right here if it's different from 18 watt, but I think it's an 18 watt fast charge in there. Oh, and the other big difference is on the front of the unit where the hole punch is. We now have a hole punch cutout on a Pixel device. So they've abandoned the notch situation there. We had the really advanced face unlock going on. We had the radar in there. They're simplifying it. And especially for this model with the $349 price tag, it's not the most aggressive screen to body ratio. You definitely have a bezel around the outside, but these are the things you put up with in exchange for the savings. This is a value for money play, and I actually think it's a really smart play for Google and Apple for that matter. We have a very unique world circumstance here in 2020. People aren't exactly out there splurging in general on smartphones or otherwise. People want value for money, and that's the aim here, and I appreciate that aim. Also inside the package, we've got a little bit of paperwork from Google. You have your SIM tool over on the back here. We have a Type-C cable followed by a little adapter here, which I believe is going to be Type A to Type-C. Yes, it is. So this can be used for migration from another device to this one. And here's the power brick. It's definitely some form of quick charge in there. Look at this. It's a nice little setup on here. And I mean, we have the gradient background. It's so simple, isn't it? The Pixel life. In the Android world, it's very simple. You don't have the bloat unless you consider Google's apps, but it's hard to consider Google's apps bloat because they make the OS. And these are all applications that I use. Google Podcasts, YouTube Music. It does to a point. Look how it's also quite snappy here. So what do we have? Do we have a 90 Hertz display on this? At this price point? Is that, did they give us that? The display is 60 Hertz, but it's an OLED panel at this price, which is, I mean, that's probably the biggest difference on the daily basis. If you were to compare this Pixel 4a to this guy over here, this is the iPhone SE, which, as you can tell, the displays, there's quite a discrepancy there. I don't know how well this shows up for you, but because of this older design here, it's just, the display feels like it's further beneath the glass, and you have the different technologies at play, and then just the screen to body ratio as well. Not every buyer cares about this. Some are going to sit there and say, well, you have a 700 series Snapdragon, you have the flagship chip from Apple in the SE. So yeah, that's completely correct. And the camera thing is kind of a coin flip, depending on who's processing and which application you like better. I tend towards the Pixels, doing cooler color temperatures and higher contrast, which is, well, that's just to my taste buds pretty frequently. Here you have USB Type-C. This is the proprietary connector. So you have a bigger battery over here as well. These are, these are things to consider if you're actually weighing these two options. But form factor wise, even though this display is much larger, in the hand, it's fairly comparable between the two. Also, I should mention, this is the cheaper unit of the two. This is gonna save you 50 extra bucks. With 3140 milliamp hour battery in here, and the 700 series Snapdragon is usually pretty power efficient. So, I mean, I can't say for certain, I just got the phone, but presumably it's better than the Pixel 4, which is, well, that's not really hard to say. Pixel 4 is probably the main drawback, was the battery life. Snapdragon 730, 6 gigabytes of RAM, 128 GB of storage. Oh yeah, and the Pixel gives you the headphone jack. You do not have Apple's ecosystem, but you do have a headphone jack. And like I said, I think that's a big deal at this price point. Okay, so some things I'm curious about on here, outside of the camera, which I'm definitely gonna get to. I'm curious about the speaker performance. Oftentimes on a budget phone, you take a little hit in the speaker performance. So let's load up a YouTube video. We get some dialogue rolling first. I'll load up the latest episode of Lou later.
You didn't know that was such a thing. But everybody wants an ecosystem. Apple's got an ecosystem. Because once it's an ecosystem, you see, you need all the pieces. You got to catch them all. You see how that goes?
Yeah.
And so Samsung, in their press release, they're talking Ultra taking the
wow, so you have a stereo thing happening. You have some high end coming out of the earpiece location, and you have some low end on the bottom. The speaker, I'm pretty happy with. It's not the loudest thing I've ever heard. It's not as loud as the Note 20 Ultra from the last video, but like...
Oh, you've got the Z Flip 2, not Flip, Fold.
It's not crunchy.
See, I got to keep my Z's together now. Yeah. Z Fold 2. But that's not it. I want you to scroll down a little bit here.
I like the audio on this. This is very clear, and it's full. It's fuller than I would have expected. Oh, also this gives you an idea when you're zoomed into the frame, just to get an idea of how much screen you're getting in the body and then what the hole punch looks like. This is not a massive distraction over here. Now, we might as well, since I have the SE over here, we might as well just load YouTube, because I can't recall how this compares, the audio, that is.
Yeah, you didn't know.
Oh, I was trying to make it I was trying to make it bigger, because I'm so used to phones not having a chin and forehead like this in 2020. I was like, oh yeah, I'll just span it out to, but no, that's actually the size of your video. It's quite a substantial difference. If you're going to use this thing as a multimedia machine, I think it's important to note in this particular comparison, even if you have all the horsepower in the world, your video is just, it's a small video. It's a small phone, a small screen considering the scale of the phone, because it's got the antiquated design. And, this is where waiting for the iPhone 12, although it'll be at a higher price point, you will finally be able to get an iPhone with a small form factor that has a more modern screen-to-body ratio. And I talked about it in a recent video, the small iPhone 12. You can go check that out and see how it compares. But anyways,
ecosystem.
Audio.
It's got an ecosystem. You know what? I'll take an ecosystem. Makes it sound big. Makes it sound grand. And it also makes it sound like you should spend a few dollars so you can take.
So this also sort of exposes the brightness, the viewing angles. It's pretty obvious. I mean, you make up your own mind. You see it in the camera there. And now turn this one back up.
So it's sucking more energy.
It really makes me question my life.
Yeah.
They're pretty comparable. I'd probably give a slight edge to this guy, but they're pretty comparable. It's hard for you to know. The microphone is right there, but it's not a massive difference between the two. Let's jump into the cameras. Obviously, I mean, this is a huge area of focus for smartphones in general. This is the differentiating characteristic. This is the reason you might select this phone over some other competitive phone in the same price bracket. It's an area where Google has had an edge. So I'll bring over the trusty plant. I'll back it up, and we are going to snap just at the start.